New Britain has $2.6 billion worth of property, a $234.8 million budget, 73,000 residents, and one mayor to manage it all. As you can imagine, the city's budget process is long and complicated. So I'm here today to break it down in the simplest terms possible to show you how every one of our dollars gets spent. Here is a budget book. A little intimidating, right? Well, no worries. Over my last 7 years in office, I've become a budget pro, and I've got you covered. The budget process works like this. In January, our city department heads submit their recommended budgets for review to the Board of Finance and Taxation. The Board of Finance and Taxation then takes the next few months to hear and consider these requests before they craft and present their own recommendations to me in March. Then it's my turn. Me and my team roll up our sleeves and get to work. And for several weeks, I go line by line in the budget, looking for ways to cut costs, preparing my recommendation that I present to the Common Council in April. As you can imagine, there's lots of red pens that get used when my office gets it. After I'm done, it's up to the Common Council to accept it or reject it. And perhaps more important to note, this year's budget was much different. We needed to consider the long-lasting financial impact that COVID-19 will play this year and on years moving forward. We have to proactively anticipate for lost revenues. It is an unfortunate reality, but the city must plan for some people being late on their taxes and fees or not paying them altogether. And with the market still rebounding from the effects of shutdowns, we must also plan for less than stellar returns on our investments. Coronavirus has impacted every aspect of our lives, and local government is unfortunately not excluded. Now, let's talk about where our money comes from and where it goes. Here's the breakdown. Just follow me. Out of the $234.8 million budget, taxes account for 57.4% of total revenue. 36.9% comes from the state. We rely heavily on state money to function. Did you know that without state funding, our mill rate would be a whopping 88.21 mills? Ooh! This budget year, 53.8% of all money that we get goes towards education. Though, we don't have control over how the schools spend their money. Isn't it kind of crazy that non-elected individuals get that much say over how we spend our money? But what's even crazier, you ask? The state mandates us to spend the same amount, $125.7 million, as we did the year before, regardless if our needs, wants, or school enrollment changes. So let's put that another way. 54 cents of every dollar from the budget goes to the Board of Education. Next up, we have loans and debt. Our city credit card makes up 11.6% of the budget. And like you, we want to protect our credit score, so defaulting on payments is certainly not an option. We work tirelessly to maintain an A+ credit rating. Another important part of our budget is the city services you've come to expect and that you deserve. As a densely populated city with many multifamily dwellings confined to a mere 13.2 square miles, we need to maintain a professional paid staff to take care of the ins and outs of daily business. That includes a police and fire department, which make up 13.8% of our budget, as well as everyone's favorite, the public works department, which is another 6% of the budget. And the remaining part goes to everything else under the sun: parks and recreation, utilities, office overhead, you know what I mean. Okay, friends, did you follow? I hope I made that explanation as easy as possible for you. Now, let's get to wrapping this up, but one more quick thing, stay with me. It's the question that everybody wants an answer to. How come our mill rate is so high? Well, for starters, half of New Britain's properties, whether it's colleges, hospitals, churches, nonprofits, community organizations, well, they don't pay any taxes on their property or assets like you or I do. Personally, I think this is bull. But we've recently taken action to hopefully address this concern. New Britain is 98% developed, meaning there isn't much room left for expansions or development. Additionally, we are obligated to make large payments towards overly generous pension commitments that were made by past politicians. In any given budget year, retirement funds account for nearly 8.2% of the budget. And we can't take back promises that were made in the past to city employees when they retired. See, everybody, the city budget is pretty painless. Well, kind of. I hope this video helped you to better understand where our money comes from and what it pays for. I've long said that we don't have a spending problem, we have a revenue problem. And the proof is in the numbers. I've challenged our leaders to think outside the box on creating new and permanent revenue streams, because no one wants to see the fire department shut down, right? It's our turn to get creative to preserve our future. And it's important to note that in a city like New Britain, our financial pressures are never solved, but rather they're managed. We've worked very hard over the last 7 years to get our financial house in order, but it will likely be several more years and several more tough decisions before we fully get our money issues under control. I was proud to present my no tax increase budget this year, and now the council has until June to approve it. The clock is ticking, and I certainly hope they make the right decision for the benefit of all our taxpayers.